I'm Orgone and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be making a piece called Prism Cristal, and I want to let you know this is a test piece because I had made a pyramid called the Depths, and this pyramid was supposed to be a chakra balancing pyramid using the colors of the rainbow. Only I had used the wrong type of resin and the colors did not turn out to be the colors of the rainbow. So I had to rename it, and I wanted to make sure that my alcohol inks were working properly. So I went ahead and got epoxy resin and made a test piece to prove that the alcohol inks actually did indeed work, and they do. You can see right here. So yeah, I wanted to make a test piece to make sure that they worked, and I chose to make a treatment cone. And a treatment cone is a cone made in a paper drinking cup, and it has gemstone beads for nubs on the bottom. And this is meant to work as like a massager to break up muscle fascia. So you can rub it into your muscles and give yourself a nice massage and an Orgone treatment as well. So they're wonderful pieces, and if you'd like to see how this piece was made, stay tuned. We're going to get started right now. So I'm going to use a quartz crystal point wrapped in copper coil or wrapped in copper wire, 18 gauge. And yeah, I'm going to use epoxy resin and some brass shavings. So, and I probably will use some beads for the bottom because I like when I use the cone shape, which I'm using just a little paper drinking cone, and I set it up by using a jar. I just stick the little cup in there and it balances it nicely. And so yeah, I'm going to start out with a clear layer to start with, and I'm going to just pour my epoxy resin. Epoxy resin is a two-part resin, and it's half and half. So I'm going to pour about 1/4 ounce. I don't recommend using the polyester casting resin with the alcohol inks because it is made for just the epoxy. Anyway, epoxy resin takes a lot longer to cure. That's why I typically use polyester casting resin, because it allows me to move on to the next step when I'm making layered pyramids and other layered pieces. So when I come back, we're going to start with our alcohol inks to see if they really are the colors that they say they are. Okay, so it's time to start the colored portion of our layers. It's about 1/4 ounce. That's one hard part about epoxy resin, is that you can't pour tiny amounts of it because that 1/2 of the resin is so viscous that you can only get a big chunk out for your smallest piece. So you have to have little side projects to pour off some of the excess resin into. I've got a little side project started up here for my extra epoxy resin. I'm going to pour in my purple alcohol ink. This one is by Tim Holtz Ranger. I poured 3 drops. And I'm going to pour the rest in my side project. The straw is another way of releasing the epoxy resin of its bubbles, and it looks like it got some, so we'll see how much settling down it can do in the time it has to cure. Okay, so we are ready to pour our green layer, green alcohol ink. Lemon yellow. Okay, so it's time to do our brass layer, and maybe I can fit the beads on at the same time. So let's see if I can get this done. I'm actually going to pour a little beach sand in here because I want to add more quartz crystals, and Florida beach sand is just tiny quartz crystals. So I'm just going to add a little layer of sand in here. It won't really change the aesthetics, but we'll know it's there. And our brass shavings. Now that that's all ready, I'm going to start with my beads, and I have 12mm gemstone beads, and I got clear quartz for this side, and it usually takes about 11 beads. 1, 2, 3. Go around the outer edge first. $11 beads around the outer perimeter, and then start with the inner circle. I ran out of clear quartz, so I'm moving on to my amethyst beads. So there's 11 around the outer track, 5 in the inner track, and then 1 in the center, and then you're going to start adding beads on top like this. And then I'm just going to add some more resin to that. Perfect. That should do it. So now we are done with our piece. We're just going to wait for it to cure, which is going to be another 12 hours. So I should point out that the epoxy resin just takes way too long in making Orgonite, because this is the 3rd day I've been working on this same piece, and this is not even a big piece. And well, even if I had been doing a big piece, it would have taken about the same amount of time, as long as I had these amount of layers to work with. The layering of the epoxy resin just takes so long. You have to be really patient, and it does take a lot of time. But polyester casting resin is the way to go for fast moving Orgonite. It's just with these alcohol inks, you have to use epoxy resin. Anyway, I will show you what we have when it has cured. Okay, so I have taken the paper off of our cone and I have sanded it down. I like to use an emery board to do my sanding because it gives me a lot more control over what I'm sanding than sandpaper did. So I buy these in a 10-pack. I will leave a link in the description box where you can get them. Or if you want to use sandpaper, that's perfectly fine. And you see how it has this frosted look to it. We're going to spray it with a clear coat and bring the shine right back out of it. So I'm just using Krylon Color Master Cover Max Clear, but you can use any clear coat that is on sale. It'll be fine. So we're just going to let that dry and we'll see what kind of piece we have. Okay, so the clear coat has dried and I wanted to show you our piece. The colors of the epoxy resin really did come out to be the colors that they said they would be. And seems that I had a problem with the bubbles. The bubbles, there's just so many bubbles in every layer of this piece. No matter what I did to get rid of some of the bubbles, they're just filled with in every area of this piece. And I mean, it's pretty, but I wish it were clear. I don't know how people get it to be clear. Maybe I would need to invest in a heat gun or something. I don't know. I'm going to stick with using polyester resin because it's faster, it's clearer, I think it's just better. And if I want to use colorants for the polyester resin, I'm just going to stick with my food coloring candy colors that I use. Yeah, I'm not sold on the epoxy resin. I do use it for my pendants because I use the alcohol inks in those and they have a good effect, but this didn't. And yeah, I probably won't do a repeat of this, but I had to do it just to see that the colors were what they said they were because of the piece I had made in polyester resin with the alcohol inks. They just didn't come out at all. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. It makes me super happy when you do that. Also, subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing any more inspirational pieces on different Orgonite projects to make. And hit that notification bell if you want to be made aware of new projects as they come out. So anyway, this is Orgone Nick, and thank you for joining me in my Orgonite studio. Have a wonderful day.